Okay, everyone, before we get too far into this video, I want to stress the fact of where I fall politically. Politically, I am center right. What that basically means is I believe in the Constitution because the Constitution is actually the laws that the government has to abide by. The Constitution gives us our rights as American citizens. So, once again, I am center right. I do believe in safety nets for the people, and I do believe in the government for the people. Okay, so when you listen to this, I'm not a liberal, and I'm not a right-wing conservative. I am someone that basically takes a common sense approach to an issue. And as such, I'm taking a common sense approach while I'm talking to you today about 1 year ago, January 6th. You know, some people call it an insurrection, some people call it a riot, some people call it a protest. Depending on where and how you look at it, basically, it could be all of the above. I personally look at it as a protest that went out of control. And it didn't have to be that way. Now, see, someone like myself who comes from a criminal justice background and a psychology background looks at it in simpler terms. Everyone knew that, after the speech, people were going to come down and protest at the Capitol building. The problem is, though, whoever was in charge of the Capitol Police dropped the ball in this situation. Because what should have happened is the door should have been locked, barricaded, and made so people could not enter the Capitol. But that's not what happened. If you look at the video footage, you'll see, the Capitol Police allowing people past barricades, allowing people to stream into the building. That should have never been allowed. The doors should have been locked, and no one would have been able to get into the Capitol in that situation, in the Capitol building. Also, some of the people that went into the Capitol building were agitators. They were not Trump supporters. They were not Republicans. In fact, they were left-wing, extreme left-wing radicals. I know you don't like hearing this, but some of the people in there egging it on from inside the buildings were actually agitators. That's not good. It's not good that anyone was in the building, actually, but it's definitely not good when you have agitators in there trying to whip up a riot inside the hollow halls of the Capitol building. I am just happy that the Capitol wasn't burned to the ground on that day. I'm not happy with some of the conservative individuals who are in there going into private offices and stealing private materials, such as mail, computers, and such like that, or the guy who actually put his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. I am not a fan of Nancy Pelosi, but you don't go into her office and put your feet up on her desk and do photo ops. The crazy guy with the horns on his head, I get a kick out when I see that photo of him in the Capitol, like in the rotunda, like wherever, whatever you call that, all right? Where he's at the speaker's, podium. Like him, the photo of him at the speaker's podium is priceless. It's funny. He's also not a far left-wing conservative, as we found out after the fact. But it is funny to see that, nothing, he didn't destroy anything. He just did a photo op. Anyone who went in there and did a photo op, except for, putting your feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, which, really, it's not that bad if you get down to it. At least he wasn't lighting her office on fire, or lighting the desk on fire. Which, as we've seen and as we've known, if this was a left-wing event, they would have probably crapped on the desk, urinated on the desk, and burnt the place down. And we know this because what they've done when they've actually burnt down the church near the White House, burnt the security, post on the White House grounds, and tried to topple the statue, the monument, in front of the White House. Not even a year prior to January 6th, meaning before. We're at a time right now where, remember, I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden, but when Joe Biden came in as president, what he should have done to bring people together as a whole is he should have dropped all the charges against the individuals who were involved in January 6th. If he would have dropped the charges against them, that would have been a lot. That would have done a lot to actually bring our country together and bring the people together. But instead of dropping the charges against the individuals who had been arrested, what they did is they actually they put more pressure on it, and then they kept on arresting more and more people who they found out were in the Capitol building. They doxed them. They had them fired from their jobs. They had them incarcerated. I think there's still people right now who are still awaiting trial and in jail over this issue. Realistically, they should just drop the charges against these individuals, except for the one that actually stole the computer, I believe out of Nancy Pelosi's office. That right there should have been charged to the fullest for doing that. But at the same time, when you look at this, you have to actually look and realize that this is all politically motivated, plain and simple. Because the ones that burnt the church, burnt down the guard post on the White House lawn, and try to topple monuments and statues in front of the White House and all over the country, as well as the ones who burnt down police precincts, took over, like state capitol buildings. And even in Washington State, the group of people that took over city blocks in Washington State and made the Chaz Zone, I believe it's called. Put yourself in the position of people who lived in those city blocks in Washington State. You've got people erecting fences around your neighborhoods, around city blocks that you live in. And you're living in an occupied territory where people are handing out guns to children, where you're having rapes and murders happening in your neighborhood, and the police are not allowed to go in there. Emergency services are not allowed to go in there. Yet those people were not charged. The people who have gone into these cities and looted and burned and destroyed, they weren't charged. Look at Kenosha, Rittenhour. Okay. He went in there to actually help people. Yes, he ended up taking he took, some lives of people who were attacking him. But if you look at it, one person just got out of jail for, who was a sex offender, for raping young boys. Another one was in trouble with the law for abusing his girlfriend. The first one reached for the firearm, and when he got shot, the other one hit Kyle, in the head with a skateboard. And the last one that was shot and not killed was lifting up a handgun to shoot Kyle. And he was a felon in possession of a firearm as well. Yet he was not charges were not filed against him for being a felon in possession of a firearm. And that's crazy right there, that he's a felon in possession of a firearm, yet he does not get charged. So, okay, the only person involved in that whole situation, really, to be charged was Kyle Rittenhouse. the one protecting himself. All of these other people who were burning and looting and causing so much chaos, and those three people who I just mentioned, they had no connections to Kenosha. None. Kyle did. Kyle worked there. Kyle's friends were there. Kyle's family lived there. His father lived in Kenosha. He lived maybe 20 minutes over the border with his mother, but his father lived in Kenosha. He grew up in Kenosha. He was from Kenosha. These other people weren't even from the community. And that's a big problem too. I remember watching a YouTube video of a woman in, I believe, New York City, where people are going in there burning her neighborhood. Black woman. People are in there burning her neighborhood. Smashing charging stations for the homeless to charge their phones. Destroying everything. And she's saying to them, you don't even live in this neighborhood. You're not even from here. Get the hell out of here. We don't want you here. And you know why that is? Oh yeah, and then how about the lawyers in New York who are giving Molotov cocktails to people to throw and burn things down? Yes, they were charged, but you don't really hear much about what happened with them. But they were lawyers who are doing this. We have to understand that politics right now needs to change. If you're a Republican, it's not okay to hate a Democrat. If you're a Democrat, it's not okay to hate a Republican. It's okay to have a difference of opinion, a difference of view. We need to come together as a people and stop with the bullshit. Plain and simple. I myself have been the victim of corruption. And you don't see me out there hating people of a different political party just because I've been persecuted by, people with power within that political party. I look at it like this. If you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or if you don't even vote because your religion doesn't allow you to vote, I believe if I ever became elected, you should be able to come to me, and I shouldn't even look at what political party affiliation or what your views are and be able to help you. Any of these politicians who want to bring and make people hate someone of another political affiliation or party, they are the true enemy. They are the ones who we need to get out of office. Those are the ones that we need to not listen to. We need to come together. January 6th should have never happened. They say police officers were killed during it. No police officers were killed on January 6th at the Capitol building. The only person that was killed that I know of was Miss Babbitt, who was a veteran. She was killed not even in the same room as the Capitol police officer who shot and killed her. There was no threat. These individuals were not in there dragging people out of the building and torturing them in public. They weren't. This was not a revolution. This was a protest that went out of control because the Capitol Police were not able to handle the situation. If this was a revolution, you would have saw Congress people being dragged out of the building and killed. That's what happens during revolutions like this. You would have seen, you would have seen a lot of violence, and you would still be seeing the violence right now. It was not a revolution. It was a protest that went askew. And when you look at the protest too, people were already at the Capitol building while President Trump was still speaking. People who were there, to watch President Trump and to listen to his speech were not the first ones in the Capitol. Because anyone who supports a president will stay until the end of the speech. They're not going to leave early. A lot of people think that the election was stolen. There has been evidence that shows that some things did. Some things, were very iffy. People had the right to protest what they believed was the situation, whether it be right or wrong. Our Constitution gives us the right to protest. The First Amendment right, freedom of speech, and to assemble. But they should have locked the doors. They should have locked them, manned the barricades and not let people in. At the end of the day, when you look at these situations involving the left and the right, Democrats and Republicans, most of the issues of violence that we have are from the far left. For the most part, the far right abides by rules, laws, and regulations. And that's the problem that we have right now. So, if the Democrats want to actually bring people together, if Joe Biden wants to bring us together as a one people, a one United States, what he should do is have all the charges dropped against anyone involved in the January 6th incident, just like all of the prosecutors, or most of the prosecutors, had not filed charges and dropped charges against everyone involved in burning churches down near the White House, trying to topple monuments in front of the White House and amongst other states, and also the ones who burnt down cities, took over parts of cities, and took over and burnt down police precincts. It's only fair. And right now, with the Democrats having the House, the Senate, and the presidency, this right here would be a great olive branch to give to their opposition, to give to the other side. Because most of these people on the other side, hopefully, would vote for a good candidate who had a different political affiliation. Because what we don't want is we don't want to live in a country where you're going to vote political party over the individual person. Because when we have that, that's how tyrannical leaders, tyrannical politicians get elected. Because people vote based upon party politics and not for the people and not for the views and not for the opinions. Once again, I leave you with this last word. Don't look at political affiliation. Don't attack someone because they believe differently than you. Embrace them. And at the end of the day, just realize this. Live and let live. Because we are more similar than we are different. We have more in common with each other than we do differences. And when it comes to politicians who want us to hate each other for one aspect of our lives that's different than another person's, that's the true issue. And that's what's going to cause America to completely divide and for us to hate each other. Have a great day, you guys. And live and let live.